Good afternoon to you all. How are you today? I hope you're well. Is it Groundhog Day? Not quite. But yes, this is me carrying on from a couple of days ago, just as promised. The more this day has gone on, the more perfect it's gotten, apart from that bee that just left. Yes, so a few things to do this afternoon. I'll get onto that in a minute, but I've got a couple of thank yous I would like to say first of all. Thank you, Sheila in Canada, who sent me this lovely bundle of, it's what you call row cover. I've heard some folks call it floating row cover. It's very similar to our fleece over here. It's a bit different. It's not quite the same, but similar. But that's great, thank you, Sheila. And I was thinking this would be perfect for covering up my peas. Remember I was mentioning in the video a couple of days ago? So cover my peas against the pea moth. Grr. I got another thank you to Lisa. Thank you so much. Lisa sent me a lovely little bundle, including this gorgeous wee packet of seed saving packets. So each one, how charming is that? That's so lovely. Thank you so much, Lisa, because I do make my own seed packets, you know, those little pretty ones that I sew and then paint and out of paper, but I only do those for friends because they're quite time consuming. So it will be lovely for me to have something special to put my saved seeds in. So thank you. No doubt at some point next year some of you will be getting packets of seeds from me in these packets. Yay! So thank you ever so much for that. It's not even my birthday. Now the other thing I wanted to catch you all up on, and I meant to do this the other day and forgot, is do you remember back at the end of January, loads of us YouTubers were doing it. I'm sure loads of you did it in your gardens too. The Great Garden Bird Watch, run by the RSPB. So the idea is, in case you missed it, there's a certain weekend, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at the end of January each year, where we're all asked individually, whether it's in our gardens, in a public park, in our allotments, to choose a 1 hour window and make a note of all the birds that visit and numbers. So for instance, if you see a robin in that hour, you say 1 robin. If you see a robin and it disappears, and then you see another robin and then another robin, you don't count it as 3 because it could all be the same robin. But if you see 3 robins at the same time, you say 3 robins. You get the drift. Anyway, the results are in. So this is, for the whole of the United Kingdom, the top 10 of our garden / park / allotment birds. I would just say right now that number 1 has been number 1 for 16 years running, and it's a bird I never see down here, which is weird. Anyway, in at number 10, the magpie. Lovely magpies. 1 for sorrow, I always see 2 for joy. They were much higher up in my personal list. Number 9 was chaffinch. I don't see many chaffinches here. Number 8, surprisingly it was only number 8, was robins. I see robins all the time here, but that's probably something to do with the fact that when we're tilling our soil, the robins are there to scoop down and grab some grubs. Number 7 was the great tit. 6, the goldfinch. 5 was the wood pigeon. 4, with their beautiful ubiquitous song, I love them, blackbirds. Is there a song more cheerful in the garden than the song of the blackbirds? Love it. And number 3, I get plenty of these on my feeders, blue tits. And number 2, the bully boys of the bird world, the starlings. I'm really lucky I don't have starlings on this site because they really are quite the little bullies. And then at number 1, as I said, for the 16th year running, the good old house sparrow. Just don't see them in the garden. Bizarre, isn't it? So, you know, it's kind of interesting reading. I look at that list and there are a couple that I didn't see, but then, for example, what didn't make the top 10 were jays, and I see jays all the time in the garden here. I see the spotted woodpeckers quite often. Rarely, but I do see them, the green woodpeckers, and I love it when the green woodpeckers come to the garden because they're ground feeders, and they like to sort of hop along my paths, pecking in the grass, and then they go up the side path, and then they come back along, peck down another path. Beautiful. So there we go. Some of mine didn't make it onto the list. A lot of what's on the list I never see here. Some of the things which are really, really common to me weren't particularly high up, but there we go. Right, so today, or as my continuation of the day, I'm going to be sowing some herbs, and I'm going to be getting out those sweet peas that I mentioned in the last video but didn't get around to doing in that video. And then I've got one other thing to sow. I think that's the thing I will start with because it's really special and I'm so excited about it, and I know that I'm sort of building up my hopes and expectations, but yeah, without further ado, come on, let's get outside and start sowing some of this really special seed. Yay, so it's time to get on with some herbs. Okay, I'll come to my special seed in a minute, but the herbs I'm going to do today, I've got a load of MI Gardener seeds, brilliant. So I'm going to do some cilantro, we know as coriander, some dill and some basil. They will probably all be for going on the deck, except for the dill. That will probably have to go in the herb bed because of the size. I'm also going to do some yarrow. Again, this will have to go into the herb bed because of the size it will get to. I've never grown yarrow before, and I haven't actually looked yet about its sort of uses. So that's going to be a fun one to have a go at growing and to look up. I don't know how big it's going to get, but I think it's going to be quite big. I'll do some research, but I thought, well, I might as well get some seeds underway now, and then if it's not going to be suitable for me, I can always give those little plants away later on. And some chamomile. I'm desperate to have more chamomile. Oh, look, the sun's trying to come out. How gorgeous. I'm desperate to have more chamomile because I love my chamomile tea. I don't drink much tea at all. When I do drink tea, it tends to be peppermint or chamomile, but I tend to go more towards chamomile. And speaking of tea, this is my super, super special seed. I'll probably get emotional as I start to talk about it. I've got some mountain tea seeds, also known as ironwort, or its proper name, Sideritis. I've never used its proper name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not. To me, it's mountain tea. These seeds have come from Richard&Paul, and I think it says Paul's harvested them originally from Guernsey. They were harvested in 2015, so we're going to have our fingers firmly crossed that they're still viable. And why is it so special to me? It really is. So, all through the late 80s and the early 90s, I've travelled really quite extensively through Greece, both mainland and various islands. I've cycled around the Peloponnese in August when it was far too hot. I adore that part of the world. I've travelled a little bit in Albania. The Balkans, to me, I love them. So back in I think of dates now, 95 or 96. Hang on a minute, I need to go and get my water. Bear with me a second. That's better. I could already feel my mouth getting dry. Yeah, so I can't remember if it was 95 or 96. I'll have to look in my diaries. But I was performing in a show in London at the time, in a little theatre off the West End called the Bridewell Theatre. Excuse me. Most of you will probably never have heard of it. Gorgeous little theatre that's made out of a Victorian swimming pool. So the stage level is what would be the top of the water of the swimming pool. So underneath the stage, it's kind of built on stilts down into the swimming pool. And it's right next to the Bridewell, or or the Fleet, is it? No, it's next to the Fleet. Anyway, it's near one of these buried London rivers. And what was hilarious was, obviously over the years, the repairs haven't been done to this building. Now it's a theatre. The show I was doing at the time, my first entrance was up through a trapdoor from underneath the stage. So at beginners, I would go, just before the show, before curtain up, I would go down underneath the stage, and there I'd be waiting to go up above. And sometimes if there was a really high tide, it would flood a bit, and it was stinky down there, and there were rats. It wasn't pleasant at all, but it was a great show. It was actually a production of Cyrano de Bergerac that was written by Richard&Paul, who is I think he's the nephew of Robert Bolt, who some of you may know because of A Man for All Seasons. It was a fantastic show to work on. I love when I'm in a show and we're working with the writer at the same time. It's always such an honour. The show had originally been on at the National, and Ranjit, God love him, he wasn't quite happy with it, so wanted to rework it. So that's how I ended up doing Cyrano de Bergerac in a rat-filled, soggy theatre just off the West End. Anyway, I haven't even got onto the Mountain Tea yet, have I? So, when I was doing that production, a director for another company saw me and asked me after one of the shows to come and audition for her. She was going to be doing a modern sort of physical theatre version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a really interesting piece of writing, but a sort of a modern version that would, in a way, sort of tell the story of the Civil War that was still kind of, well, it was almost petering out, but going on in what had been Yugoslavia. So basically the war between Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, and I jumped at the chance because I love that part of the world, and I'd been following the news so closely over the years of the war, and you know, like all of us watching on from a distance, just utterly horrified to see such, you know, these are our European neighbours. This isn't like some weird place, weird cultures, miles and miles. These are our brothers and sisters of Europe. You know, these are cities of culture, and culture so similar to ours. And I think anyone who watched the news of the Bridewell massacre, it was really stomach churning watching the news. So, like I say, this director approached me and basically asked me to audition for this show, and I said yes because I think Gilgamesh is a really interesting piece of writing. It would be a chance to work again on a show with a writer present. It was going to be about the conflict that had been going on, and the big thing was it was to be performed over there, which was a bit scary, the prospect. It was at the stage when it was about the 10th ceasefire had been declared. The UN were over there on the ground, peacekeeping. I didn't really have to think twice, actually. Grabbed the opportunity with both hands. So we were going to be performing in Montenegro. There are no direct flights from the UK to Montenegro, so it would mean going via Serbia, which meant that for the next few years, because my passport had a Serbian stamp, I couldn't get into Croatia or Bosnia because all the borders were closed to each other at that time, and a little while afterwards. Anyway, I realise I'm rambling on now. Oh, so many memories of that work. Over there for quite a few weeks, rehearsed a little bit in London, but mostly rehearsed over there. I saw things I'll never ever forget. I saw some things I wish I could forget. I've never seen a gun in real life. I certainly never seen a gun pulled on another human being in real life. So yeah, lots of really quite shocking images, memories that are still there, but overwhelmingly absolutely amazing memories. It was such an amazing experience. What a privilege as a performer to be asked to do something like that, to work with a writer, to work on such a sensitive piece. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. Anyway, I'm going all around the house just trying to tell you why this seed is so important to me. Because I've been all through the Balkans so much before anyway, I was already familiar with mountain tea. And when my very first night in Montenegro, it had been quite a long journey. We'd flown to Serbia, then had to wait, and then got an internal flight from Serbia to Podgorica, which is Cetinje. Or had we gone to Podgorica? Can't remember. It's the new capital. There's an old capital, a new capital, on an internal flight, and I'm terrified of flying anyway. And it was a really harem-scarum flight. The turbulence was terrible going over the mountains. So it was a really hairy, scary flight down into Montenegro. That wasn't the scary bit though. Oh my goodness. I was picked up in a really clapped out kind of Land Rover truck type thing. If any of you've been to that part of the world and those mountains, you will know what the roads are like. Very steep, hairpin bends. It was evening by then, but with full moon, I could see down every single ravine. This vehicle should not have been on the road anyway. Oh my goodness, it's probably the scariest road journey I've ever taken in my life. I can't even remember how long it took now, but we went, it was probably getting on for an hour or so to come down out of the mountains right down to the coast, to where I would be staying for the first few weeks to do the first few performances, and then we moved to another town. So by the time I got to Budva on the coast, which I've since been back to, and it couldn't be more different. It's a beautiful Adriatic tourist hotspot, full of glamorous people, lots of money, beautiful boats out on the sea. It was not like that when I was there, I can tell you. Anyway, so I was a bit rattled and shaken after my journey, and the director of the show is from there, and she took me to a friend's kind of, I was going to say restaurant. It wasn't really a restaurant, it was more like the front room of their house that he cooked and served from. This guy who basically cooked for me every day that I was there, Bobin, became my best friend. And he delighted in finding things to cook for me that were vegetarian, because they don't do vegetarian there. Anyway, that evening I was kind of feeling quite shaken up. I'd already seen a few things that shocked me, and so I was sitting there, and the lovely Bobban was trying to work out something he could cook for me. I was starving, hungry by then, and bless him, he could see that I was really rattled, and without saying anything, he just bought me a big pot of a drink, and he said, "Here, have this will calm your nerves," or something along those lines. And so I poured myself a cup, had no idea what he'd brought me, took my first sip, and it was mountain tea. Oh, I could cry at the memory. It was something, it was immediately something that was so familiar to me. I always find it a calming tea to drink anyway. What a special moment, really special moment. It was lovely. So I've gone all around the houses, haven't I, to get to that bit, but I've always liked it as a tea anyway, but I drank gallons of it during that stay over there, and it, to me, I associate it with, it's, how to describe, it's almost like a comfort blanket. Bob showed me where on the mountains just immediately behind where I was staying, where I could go and gather my own whenever I wanted some. Nowadays, whenever I've got friends going to that part of the world, I always say, please bring back some mountain tea for me. What I didn't know was that I could have a go at growing my own. I didn't know it was ironworked, I just knew mountain tea, that was it. So, finally, let's get some of these lovely seeds out of the packet. Oh, it's just, the temperature's just dropped a bit. Do you know what it probably is? It's probably not that the temperature's dropped, but that I'm feeling strong emotions, remembering that time, and that's what's making me start to have my teeth chatter. When I get emotional, my teeth chatter. So, there we go. You know, it's funny actually, because there've been a number of occasions folk have asked about the old acting life, and I've always thought, oh yeah, I might talk about it in a video one day, but it didn't seem to relate to anything I'm doing in my current life. But on this occasion, it most certainly does. Precious. I've got these 2 little pots ready. I didn't have a shallow dish for them, and I didn't know how many seeds there are going to be. So, every single one, get my sleeve rolled up, hang on. Every single one of these is going to be precious. It's about 20 seeds there. Okay, everybody, send your positive vibes and your love to these seeds. We've got to have mountain tea, haven't we? I don't know how deeply to sow them. I think I'm going to go with the assumption that because they're such tiny seeds, just a really, really light dusting of compost on the top. I'm going to be so happy if this works, and if I can get a harvest out of them. I'll be so happy I will cry, but it'll be happy crying. I am such a big crier, but I'm a firm believer in you know, acknowledging your emotions and letting them come out. Right, tiny, tiny dusting. Really tiny dusting. Are you sending those positive vibes? Are you sending positive thoughts for my mountain tea? Oh, Paul and Richard, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Let's go and pop them in the cold frame and give them a little drink of water. So now that all the herbs are happily sown and in the cold frame, and they've had a little bit of water, I'm moving my attention onto these sweet peas that I want to put out. So I'm just down in this back end of the herb bed. I am expecting the lovage, sweet cicely, and the borage to get bigger, but I'm going to pop these sweet peas in right at the back here for now, because they should actually get even taller than those plants. And it's, let me show you from this. Oh gosh, the cardboard's disintegrating. They are more than ready to go out. So let's pop some in, and then have a step back and show you how things are looking. There are a load of random calendula all through the end of this bed here. If you remember, I did some scatterings, and at the moment this tray of sweet peas is actually sitting on some of the little emerging ones, but it won't bother them. They're such tufty little plants. To be honest, I think I could probably walk on them and they'd still come up. Obviously, as these as these little ones start to get a bit bigger, do you know what, I'm going to have to put my foot on this bed again. Oh, I need one more stepping stone. Yeah, as the sweet peas start to get bigger, start to go upwards. Oh my goodness, sorry worm. I will initially give them a little tying into this willow stick just while they get themselves going and develop their tendrils, and then once, oh my goodness, this is awkward, once they've developed those tendrils, then they'll cling on to themselves, all huffing and puffing again. Oh my goodness, maybe I should rename my channel the Huffing and Puffing Gardener. Oh, blah. Where there's a will, there's a way, eh? So I'm going to do these ones here, and then I'm also, oh, I can't move now. I'm also just going to do a little wigwam on the far end of the cold frame, up that end, next to where I've got my rosemary and sage, because like I said, it would be nice for, this is a really awkward spot, it'd be really nice for anyone walking past, just to get a nice eyeful and hopefully a noseful of these gorgeous sweet peas. Well, I hope they're going to be gorgeous. If they grow, they will be, because let's face it, sweet peas are gorgeous, aren't they? And what's really nice as well at this time of year to do this is these willow supports. They're just adding that first little bit of height back to the garden again. Unlike, say, your back garden where you might have permanent structures like arches and arbours and things like that. I think on allotment gardens we tend to, you know, we have that height and structure in the summer from our bean poles, but for most of the winter and early spring there's no height anywhere. So, right, let's go and pop a few of these around the other side. Oh, actually, let me just show you. Remember I pinched them out about 10 days or so ago. Just going to put my hand between these so hopefully you can see. Can you see now how that, it had one central stem and now it's got these lovely 2 robust side shoots to it as well. So I've now got 3 stems for the price of 1, just for having pinched it out. The other couple are a little bit small still for pinching, but they will get their pinch in due course. Right, let's do the other end as well. So there they are, the front, well, should I say the back end of this front bit of the herb bed. Hopefully they'll be happy to get away. And see what I mean about a bit of height, that will be nice too. And then around the back, oh, mustn't forget to close the cold frame doors. So I've still got all of these on the left. These are all sweet peas. They're going to go in with the vegetable cathedral. These are the peas which I sowed about 10 days or so ago, maybe a fortnight ago now. They're all happy, but let's tuck them up again, because it actually does generate a nice bit of warmth in there. That's all the brassica seeds I was sowing the other day. And then just round the backside, I just put a few more of the sweet peas in down there amongst all the love and a mist. Hopefully the sweet peas will get going quickly enough so that they are getting their heads above the love and a mist before that goes crazy doolally. I have had sweet peas in this end with the love and a mist before and it's worked perfectly well. Obviously not sweet peas I grew myself, but yeah, fingers crossed for these little ones. Happy new home. And that's all the flowers I seeded the other day, plus a couple of trays of the herbs I've just seeded today. Oh, and in case you're wondering, just coming round back this way, there's the mountain tea sitting in the end. Oh my goodness, I'm swarmed by bees. Yep, that's the 2 little pots of mountain tea. Oh, what a lovely, lovely day. What a lovely session. What lovely greenery coming up everywhere. Oh, everything at the moment is such a happy sight, isn't it? Oh, come on, let's have a sit down for a minute. Oh, it's such a happy little view from my perch here on the deck. Obviously, because the herbs have been in for longer, they're all getting going more quickly than other beds. Come round and say hello again. Where are you all? There you are. Yeah, so it's just a really lovely place to sit. Someone's kids are outside on their trampoline. They're happy. Yeah, it's really a lovely place to sit because obviously a lot of the vegetable beds, they haven't even been sown yet, so there's nothing to see. But when I sit here, I'm not here every day, but every sort of 2 or 3 days, I'll see another little calendula has popped up, or, the hyssop has grown another inch. Oh, it's just lovely. It's lovely to have these different kinds of green as well. There's obviously the feverfew is such a bright acid green. It's so vibrant in your face. It's lovely. But then going almost into the sort of the grey blues of the lavenders, and yeah, so even now, before hardly anything else is growing and before any of the flowers are in bloom, and actually a lot of the spring flowers around the site have gone over, most of the blossoms gone over now. So this is my little precious corner of colour, even if it's only one colour, green. It's lots of different shades of green. It's another day where I'm feeling really, really lucky to have a garden. Oh my goodness, the start this morning, which was in that previous video you saw, honestly, I was in such a mood. I kind of actually didn't think I would even stay in the garden because I felt so grumpy, but once again, this special, precious little place has worked its magic. The birds have helped too. So, I'm going to go and do some pottering and tidying in the shed, which you don't need to see. And I'm sure after that long story about the mountain tea, goodness, well, I hope you enjoyed the memory anyway. I know there wasn't much gardening today, but there we go. It's not all about gardening life, is it? Sometimes it's about sharing those really special memories. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little delve into my past. That's all you're getting for now. Right, I'm going to go and sort that shed out. So I'm going to say cheerio to you all. Thank you so much for joining me in the garden today. Thank you for sitting and listening while I burbled on. That means the world to me that you sit and listen. So thank you. Not sure when I'll see you all again. It will be soon, no doubt. But in the meantime, I'm going to get on with things here. You get on with the things in your garden and have fun with whatever you're doing. Take care of yourselves, everybody.